There's no preparing for seeing one. There's just no preparing for it. It's like the moment that it happens, everything changes. And you realize what's going on out there is absolutely incredible. And you want to know more.
Right. Mark, he's right here. Mark, he's right here.
We just managed to catch the top of his head. He takes one last peek, then he moves off, apparently on all fours.
Up high. The Bigfoot Researcher's Journal was started for one reason and one reason only, and that is to validate that these creatures are real. And we did that. Tromping around out there at night with no thermals, no way to see really, just a little infrared light that, spans out 20 feet, dragging your wife into situations where she's freaking out, finding giant tracks. What's next, right? Well, we needed to get footage of these creatures at night. And of course, we didn't know what to expect. We knew they were there, and we were having encounters and seeing them and catching them on film, but people seemed like they just couldn't believe it. In the end, we had our members, and we got together and we got a thermal. And what happened once we got those thermals was we began to identify the heat signatures of what was in the bushes. And it was obvious what was standing there making that noise once we got those thermals. For a while, we made it a discipline, the nighttime research. And the difference is night and day. At night, they're confident, and the encounters are terrifying. And they were 10 times as intense. You couldn't see anything that was going on around you, and you were relying on the device and your senses and hearing to tell you where they were, because you can't see anything out there, man. It's pitch black. And they have a tendency to avoid the moonlit nights, is what our research was suggestive of. That moon under the earth with pitch black darkness, that's their activity time. That's the peak time of they're out and they're screwing around. We were able to see this very clearly. This exact same thing that we'd experienced in the daytime, except at night, they were more confident and more aggressive. Specifically in situations where we would hunker down and have a fire, be there for a few hours, they were all over us. I've personally been involved in many encounters like this, in which we're settled into an area with a fire, and over the course of the evening, several creatures will approach our position, at which point we pull out the thermals. The signs they're there are always real simple. They're not supernatural. They crawl through the brush all the way to you. If they can, they'll walk to you. And sometimes, when they think you know that they're there, they'll reveal themselves and throw rocks at you to get you to leave. There's one of your rock throwers, right there, peeking around, a big mass of something that blocks all the rest of the forest's heat signature behind it. So there it is, a brief expose on how we were able to confirm almost everything we were seeing in the daytime by going out at night and using thermals. The Bigfoot are right there. They have been the whole time, right in front of us, blending in. You just didn't see them because you were told to walk a specific path. This is the solo encounter. I was with Melanie and Scott Hunley, and we were testing out a couple of thermals, and I ventured away from Scott and Melanie to try to capture this exact creature from a different angle, and I actually succeeded on this particular attempt, but I ended up where I was alone when it happened. I also noticed at the time that there were other creatures present behind me. So where I wandered off into this forest, I wandered into the middle of them, and I saw a really good size heat signature and managed to, through all of my shaking and anxiety, get a really good frame of what I actually sought that evening to catch on film. I saw this creature the week before, and on this expedition sought out to catch him on film. The creature was actually looking over bushes at me, and I literally vomited after the encounter. It was a thermal encounter with Scott and Melanie again. So here we were going back into the area to try to confirm what it was that we captured the first time and what we encountered the first time. We nailed him. So this creature here that, you can see my cursor moving around there in several different light spectrums, was shot on thermal, but I had to literally alter the exposures and saturations of the thermal in order to get this creature's heat signature to show any kind of difference between the surrounding environment. Looking at it, it is clear evidence that some of these guys can regulate their body temperatures, meaning they're not always going to show up as drastically on film. We have individuals that show up drastically on film, peeking around trees, and they seem to be a bit different than this type. You can see this isn't a glowing hot signature, and it hasn't been dimmed. I've tried to bring it out more. That's the most that I can bring it out without altering the image significantly and also making it more difficult to see the actual creature. This is more akin to what it actually looked like, and then we add a little bit of depth to it by dropping some of the shadows in there and making it a little darker around the creature. So here we have the brow ridge, the head, and it's possible that there are other ones with him. Absolutely. They breed in groups, they travel in groups, they hunt in groups, they exist in groups. So where there's one, there's a potential for there to be others every time. This particular individual approached Kathleen R., Sean, Melanie, and I to watch our position. Again, it was one of those situations where we pulled in, hunkered down for a few hours, and gave the creatures an opportunity to come see what we were doing. We then employ our technology, capturing the creatures on film. Very simple process. This footage is some of the footage that was instrumental in educating me on the fact that these creatures can display very low thermal signatures, right? The heat signatures aren't registering as brightly as, say, the grass, right? Some of the trees, right? We got spots on the trees that are drastically hotter or appear in our thermal hotter than this creature. And so, seeing footage like this, I started to look for other individuals, every time I went in the field. And as a result of that, we were able to confirm through an eyewitness encounter where I filmed a creature just like this. And one of our Camp Crypto Reality attendees, Sean, agreed to give me 20 steps. I was looking at the creature through my thermal, and he was the one who was going to approach it. And he did that with a flashlight and then verified that we were indeed filming an enormous creature. And I have that encounter for you right now.
We moved around the bush to the other side to try to get a better look, get a little deeper in, to see if they stopped. You could still hear them.
Shine it on the ground. Okay, that's good right there. Keep it right there. Right where we can see. Don't put it forward at all. Got him.
So we're in the dark and we're both shaken up. And, they were there. There's no getting around that. This is the jacaranda. You can see where it's split. And it was a complete shock. There are palm fronds that are knocked down and stepped down. You can see them on the ground there. They just came tromping through there. I honestly do think they were chasing.
So we just had a Sasquatch come through here. And, I don't see how it was anything else, do you?
It sounded like one.
It sounded like a huge Sasquatch. Point it out that way. Deborah heard it. We all heard it. That was ridiculous, wouldn't you say?
God, that was scary.
It was scary, right?
Yeah, I dropped our new coffee cup thing.
Where?
It was in my hand when we started going, and I shoved it in my pocket, and now it's on the ground somewhere back there.
So we're in the dark and we're both shaken up. And, they were there. There's no getting around that. This is the jacaranda. You can see where it's split. And it was a complete shock. There are palm fronds that are knocked down and stepped down. You can see them on the ground there. They just came tromping through there. I honestly do think they were chasing.
So we just had a Sasquatch come through here. And, I don't see how it was anything else, do you?
It sounded like one.
It sounded like a huge Sasquatch. Point it out that way. Deborah heard it. We all heard it. That was ridiculous, wouldn't you say?
God, that was scary.
It was scary, right?
Yeah, I dropped our new coffee cup thing.
Where?
It was in my hand when we started going, and I shoved it in my pocket, and now it's on the ground somewhere back there.
Here's an example of a very large Sasquatch and how their heat signatures, while at rest, aren't always glowing bright. That deer was shot with the exact same thermal. I had Sean approach just to see if he was real.
To your right. Now, shine that light in the bushes in front of you. No, man, in front of you. To the left. To the left, right there in front of you. Now walk forward. Then come back. You see him? How big is he? Get out of there. What are you doing? What the f are you doing? I was seeing if it was real. Don't stand there looking at him.
What is it?
It's a giant.
The creature appeared to be resting while watching us. It was laying under a group of saw palmettos at the base, just alongside it. I was scouting one of the potential areas that I've seen individuals passing through on thermal or caught other thermal signatures in that particular area. When I caught this subject, I'm learning a lot about these creatures, observing the variations in heat signatures. They're not always brightly lit, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Having someone approach is not such a good idea. We had, I think, learned a great deal from this encounter and will never repeat it again.
To the left, right there in front of you. Now walk forward. Then come back. You see him? How big is he? Don't stand there looking at him.
What is it?
It's a giant.
Bigfoot?
It's a giant.
Then we get in the trucks and we're heading over there.
Yeah.
and you're thinking, what? From that point on, just tell your night.
Well, as we're driving down the road, as we're coming into the area, and I could feel we were coming into the area, I knew it, we were getting pretty far back down in there, and there was genuine fear in me, you know, the butterflies in my stomach, and we go driving in there, and I remember right away you pulled in there and you were concerned with the layout of what had happened there. And obviously there had been some changes since the last time you were there. But we all pulled in and got out, and I didn't feel any kind of, you know, any kind of like overwhelming doom. I didn't feel any of that. I felt very at ease, and especially being with you guys, I'm going to follow your lead, and if you're not worried, I'm not worried. So I try to put myself in that frame of mind, and so we got up there, and right away we heard some noises off to the left and to the right, and not more than, I don't know, 5 minutes later, Mark said, "I got a Bigfoot." Come here, you want to see a Bigfoot?
Where?
The other hill. Got the whole head, the apex, the eyes, the whole thing. I'm filming him right now and recording. I'm filming him right now and recording.
I'm behind you.
I got a heat signature over there right next to a pine.
It didn't take very long for us to iron out who was watching. Some of them stick out like a sore thumb. As you can see, this one has a pretty powerful heat signature, and the thermal has no trouble picking it up. Whereas the other one that Sean approached, you could barely tell the creature was there. If you didn't know what they looked like, you'd never know.
Now walk forward. Then come back. You see him? How big is he?
They come in all shapes and sizes, and apparently variations in thermal signatures. Let's take a look at the rest of this
Brown
guy.
bush or whatever that's right there. Is that which side of that is?
Oh my God, I see it. There you go. Yep. You still got the record going, right? Leave it on. Yep. Leave it on. Keep filming it. Try to stabilize it.
Come here, you want to see a Bigfoot? And he's like, my body just started shaking. You know, I got that, oh my God, that excitement. My body started shaking, and the adrenaline started flowing.
And then when we get the footage, I'll take a closer look. But that looks like the right stuff from this distance. I'm shaking. Isn't it incredible? Yeah. That's what they look like when they're watching you at night from the ground. They just stick their head up over the bank and watch you. Just like I said back at the camp, he's doing that with that bank over there. There's a dirt bank. It's a little hill. He's coming forward. Mark, don't stop filming. Stabilize the footage really good, because this could be world class. Here, you got to get on it. Okay, I got it. Ready to go.
And the only thing I can say is when he handed me the thermal, and I put it to my eye, it was like this feeling, this washed over my body. And like I said, my body just started shaking. I couldn't hold the thermal straight. And I was telling him, I was like, oh my God, it was just like this feeling. What am I looking at? You know, what am I looking at? And even though it's just a thermal picture. I mean, you can see its eyes, you can see its nose, you can see its head. It's right there. It's looking right at me. Its head's moving side to side, and there's no doubt what I'm seeing in this. And I'm seeing it firsthand, not through YouTube, not through a computer screen. I'm seeing this firsthand through, you know, this thermal. It's just this feeling of unbelievableness just washes over your body. What am I looking at here? You know? And it was just amazing. It was just amazing. And that's what I felt when I saw the first one that, you know, we got on the thermal. It was just so amazing. It was like a miracle. It was like a miracle. That's what I felt like a kid in a candy store. I was like, what is this?
So, okay, day 2, night expedition.
For me to put that to my eye and to see what you see, and I see all the time that you see on YouTube or Patreon, it's like, wow. that really put it like, this is real. There's no tricks, there's no nothing. It's there. It's looking right at you. And if you watch long enough, you know, they kind of look over at you and kind of look back. You know, it's like a little pumpkin head, like they call it. You know, and that's how it's just the coolest thing. To be honest with you, I could have stayed out there all night long and just looked and stared at it, because I was in awe.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize that until you see it. I was a believer before. I have been. I'm a knower now. And I was looking for more of how to, you know, do the research, that kind of thing. If I'm lucky, I get a shot at it, you know, and see something. But what I seen was just more than I ever imagined, and it, you know, and to me, I was not scared because I was far enough away. I was in a safe area.
And I think, you know, that feeling and that knowing that you get at the night the second time, we actually were kind of on the outskirts, and had we walked into
Right.
that's
Right.
That's more where.
And that's where I had
yeah.
a choice, and I said, no, I'm not
Yeah.
willing to do that.
Yeah. So that's.
I was comfortable with what I've seen already. I didn't need to have somebody yelling in my face to confirm it. I want my mind when I return home. I already know that I'm going to get people say, no, you didn't. You had somebody out there. You know, and there's no way. There's just no way. And the video is perfectly clear. I mean, we got it. It was awesome. I mean, I was very impressed with the whole weekend. It was very well directed and done. And we, you know, we didn't sit at the campsite hardly at all. The only time we were here was to eat. We were out in the field, and we were putting our boots to the ground, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the hands-on, and that's what I got.